I'd like to call the meeting of the Terrebonne Parish Council to order, and we'll have the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. John Amity.
Dear Lord, we pray for wisdom, for strength, and for courage to do what is right and good for all the citizens of Terrebonne Parish. May we put the interests of others above our own, and may we act with love for the common good. Lord, may we be good neighbors, recognizing your image in every person that is here. Lord, we thank you for this council, our parish president, all of our staff, and all those who work to make this place we call home such a wonderful place. We pray this in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Hampton, can we please get a roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Darren Guidry. Here. Mr. Babin. Here. Mr. Dirk Guidry. Here. Mr. Trosclair. Mr. Tillman. Here. Mr. Harding. Mr. Michel. Here. Mr. Amade. Here. Mrs. Domain.
Here.
Madam Chairwoman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you. Approved minutes of the regular council's. I'm sorry. I do have a little bit of business to attend to. Please, and this is from Mr. Carl Harding. Please be advised that I will be unable to attend tonight's council meeting. I've reviewed the agenda and have made known my concerns. I apologize for any inconvenience my absence may cause. This is signed by Mr. Carl Harding. Approve the minutes of the regular council session on February 28th, 2023. Move by Mr. Dirk Guidry, second by Mr. Alvin Tillman. Members, vote your machines. We have 8 yeas. Motion passes. Distribute minutes of the regular council session held on March 15th, 2023. Approve accounts payable list from 3/20/2023 and 3/27/2023. Moved by Mr. Darren Guidry. Second by Mr. John Amity. Members, vote your machines. We have 8 yeas. Motion passes. General business. Item A, a proclamation proclaiming the week of April 2nd through April 8th as Junior Auxiliary Week in Houma, Terrebonne. And I will read this proclamation. Whereas the Junior Auxiliary of Houma, Louisiana, a chapter of the 81-year-old National Association of Junior Auxiliaries Incorporated, represents a serious endeavor on the part of women to be active and constructive participants in the community and to assume responsible leadership in meeting community needs. And whereas the mission of the National Association of Junior Auxiliaries Incorporated is to encourage member chapters to render charitable services which are beneficial to the general public, with particular emphasis on children, and to cooperate with other organizations performing similar services. And whereas the Junior Auxiliary of Houma has actively worked to perform the mission of the National Association of Junior Auxiliaries Incorporated in this community since 1975 and should be recognized for its ongoing efforts. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Terrebonne Parish Council, on behalf of Parish President Gordon E. Dove and the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, that the week of April 2nd through the 8th, 2023 be hereby proclaimed as Junior Auxiliary Week in Houma, and sponsored by the National Association of Junior Auxiliary Inc. and all citizens, civic and fraternal groups, news media, and other community organizations be urged to join in the salute to junior auxiliary volunteers who have been an important presence in this community since 1973. This is presented on the 29th day of March, 2023. It's signed by the parish president, myself, council chairwoman, and endorsed by the entire Terrebonne Parish Council. And I see that we have some ladies from the junior auxiliary here tonight. So would you guys mind coming up to receive this?
Thank you all for the honor of your recognition of our
Hold on
organization.
1 second, the mic's not on.
It is not.
It's on.
It's on? Okay. Thank you all for the honor of your recognition of our organization. Junior Auxiliary of Houma has enjoyed serving our community for the past 50 years. We could not continue our service projects, such as our longest-running 30-plus-year-old Santa Sneakers program, without generous donors or without community support. And Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, in particular, has always been extremely supportive of Junior Auxiliary, has provided aid and co-sponsorships countless times. So thank you for the lovely proclamation in recognition of next week being JA Week, and thank you for supporting Junior Auxiliary of Houma. We look forward to serving this community for many years to come.
Thank you so much. Item B, a proclamation proclaiming the day of Wednesday, March 29th, 2023 as Vietnam Veterans Day in Terrebonne Parish. Mr. Dirk Guidry and Mr. Daniel Babin.
Thank you. It's an honor to read part of this proclamation. Whereas each March 29th, we acknowledge and celebrate those veterans who served during the Vietnam War, recognizing their bravery and highlighting their courageousness in service to others. And whereas on this 50th anniversary of the ending of the U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War, we are reminded that the great cost paid by many Americans during the war and the struggles experienced by those who served following the war. Whereas Vietnam Veterans Day was established to honor those veterans and their sacrifices, as well as advocate for mental health awareness and support of all military personnel, especially those who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder and other mental health issues.
And whereas.
Mr. Daniel Babin, can you please?
Press your request.
Sorry. Whereas we are all deeply indebted to our veterans for their service and selflessness towards the preservation of the health and well-being of others. Now therefore it be resolved by the Terrebonne Parish Council on behalf of the Parish President Gordon E. Dove and the entire Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government that the day of March 29th, 2023 be hereby proclaimed Vietnam Veterans Day in Terrebonne Parish, and that all citizens be encouraged to offer their respect and gratitude to those veterans who served their nation during the Vietnam War and to participate in local events honoring those heroes and their legacies. Presented on this 29th day of March 2023, signed by Parish President Gordon Dove, Jessica Domingue, Chairwoman, and endorsed by the entire Parish Council. We have someone to accept it. Come on, Derek.
So we're gonna have to.
Thank you all for the proclamation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your service.
You're welcome.
Item C, Parish Manager Mike Toops to brief the council on LA Department of Transportation and Development DOTD updates. Mr. Mike, can you please press your...
Thank you, Madam Chair. Everybody should have a hard copy of the report that I emailed to everybody on the 22nd, a week ago. What started this all was the day of the East Side Parade. We were staging floats, and we wiped out a traffic light just coming out of around Grand Caillou and I think it's Tunnel. So I called the local guy. He didn't answer. I called Chris Morvan, who I had on my contact list. He answered. He told me he had retired, but he would put me in touch with the guy who took his place. So 10 minutes later, a gentleman called me by the name of Scott Boyle, and I told him what was the situation, and he said, He was very nice, very apologetic. He said, I'll have somebody out there. And sure enough, 2 hours later, buckets truck showed up. They picked up all the lights. They stayed till the end of the parade, and they put them down. So Scott and I had conversations, and during the conversations, he said he would like to come down and talk to us and kind of mend fences between us and DOTD. So I said, good, I'm all for it. So we set up a meeting, and what we first thought it would be just Mardi Gras kind of morphed into all of the others. And it was the first time that we had ever had DOTD at the table. So I figured I'm going to get my bang for the buck. And we laid it to them. We didn't hold back any punches. We told them about the frustration we had with us getting phone calls for DOTD problems on and on and on. And anyway, I think for the most part, the meeting was very positive. A couple of things we agreed to is that every year going forward, we're going to email Chris Rogers and Jacob Boncal the schedule for the Mardi Gras parades. They're going to come out and make sure that all the lights are up, so to prevent this fiasco from happening going forward. We also talked about the Houma Intracoastal Tunnel. Steve Ponville had several discussions with Keith Angelette from DOTD about getting the tunnel cleaned. And so we talked about the tunnel, and we brought up some other issues. There's a steel plate under one of the patches, and when it's covering a small, according to them, a small leak in the tunnel. It's not city water, it's water from the intercoastal that's coming up and it's draining down the road. Well, HPD had one of their SWAT units that almost wiped out in the tunnel. Thank God they didn't have any oncoming traffic. So we talked about that, and we talked about the upcoming repairs. We told them that we were going to be cleaning and pressure washing the tunnel, and then they told us they would have an inspection immediately afterwards. So we had everything lined up with HPD. They cleaned all the curb drains out. And if you look in the back of your reports, you have 3 photographs. The first of the 3 shows that the actual trustees working on a Sunday night, and you can see the amount of trash. And this was from us cleaning it a year ago. The second one shows, I guess for lack of better words, I call it gunk that came out the curbs. And then the third and final picture shows everything that was removed from the curbs and from either side entrances on the east side and the west side. Now, this is a year's worth of trash that the sheriff and his trustees, and we thank them very much for doing it, cleaned up for them. So we have another meeting with DOTD on June 16th. We're going to talk to them about this issue. And you know what's sad is that on the Monday night, we were set up with HPD to pressure wash the tunnel. Everybody showed up. They hooked up to the tunnel's fire suppression system. No water. The main valves feeding the fire suppression system on both sides were closed and the doors were locked. We didn't know about this. They knew about it. Here we are trying to do their work for them. They could have very well, if somebody had known that those valves would have been closed, they could have come and opened them for us. It took 2 hours to get somebody here. So we had the sheriff's trustees, HPD directing traffic. So for 2 hours, they waited around to get somebody from Bridge City to come and open those valves. But it brings up a bigger issue, is what happens if there's a fire? So I instructed Chief Henry to inform all of his captains that if, God forbid, there's an accident and a fire in the tunnel, not to rely on the fire suppression system to tie into one of our fire hydrants on either side of the tunnel. And that's going to be brought up on the June meeting. Why do they shut the water off to what they know is a fire suppression system in their tunnel? They have 12 2.5-inch riser pipes with connections for fire hoses. 10 of them have the valves missing, the valve handles missing. They have a lot of doors that are broken, doors that are not labeled. They do have 16 20-pound dry chemical fire extinguishers. They were serviced, they're available. But the public doesn't know that. If there's a fire and you know that there's a fire extinguisher available, any good Samaritan is going to grab an extinguisher and try to put it out. But we didn't know this until we started investigating. And this is the kind of things that we would hope the DOT would address, label it properly, so that if, God forbid, there's another fire or a fire, then we know where to go and what to get. We talked about tall grass along the highways. I couldn't get a definitive answer from him. I sent them the minutes. I asked them for their comments. Not a one person responded. So it's kind of, we're making progress step by step. We talked about us doing the street sweepers on all the overpasses. Clay sweeps all of the overpasses once a week. They told me the state sends a street sweeper out once a month down here. I have never seen a state, and Clay hasn't, David Rome hasn't. So maybe Mr. Boyle was misinformed. Maybe they figured out, well, the parish is going to do it. We're not going to worry about it. We talked about the state road resurfacing problems. And Mr. Ball said he had met with you, Councilman Trosclair, and Tanner McGee, correct? We talked about surfacing LA 24 between the Klondike Bridge and the Berg Bridge while the bridge is being replaced. Mr. Ball said that was above his head, but he was going to check. Have you heard anything back from him? So we also talked about other issues. Highway 24 by Clendenning Road, it's horrible. We talked about the speed bump on Park adjacent to Estate Drive. And we had gotten so many complaints because there was a pothole just before the heat bump, so it doubled the problem. They did tell me, and they did do it. They grinded the heat bump, and they put coal patch. Now they got a bump sign about 100 feet before, but if you hit it going the speed limit, it's going to get your attention. Now, I talked to David Rome about this, and David said, yeah, it's right to put coal patch a little bit higher because in the summer, the sun heats it, it is going to level off. But until then, we're going to have a problem not near as bad as before. Let's see what else. We talked about de-icing of the overpasses because in the past, in the wintertime, whenever we had a hard freeze, we would always take it upon ourselves to do it. Mr. Ball did send me what he called a priority list, and that's attached. And it shows the overpasses they call priority, and they would do it. But they got to wait for the state to give them the okay to de-ice these overpasses. It doesn't come from a local decision. It's got to be the state that makes these decisions. So again, what do? Wait and hope that de-ice, or we just go take it upon ourselves and do like we've done in the past? So again, we made progress. There's a lot more to go. I hope that Mr. Ball will be more attentive. And again, we're having the next meeting on June 16th, and we're going to have these meetings every quarter. The next meeting, David Rome said he wants to attend. Clay Knockan wants to attend. And Chris, I believe you want to attend, correct? So we'll keep you posted of these meetings, what we accomplish and what we're fighting. And that's about all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
I have several lights. Mr. Michel?
Thank you. I think it was 2019, the state came in and patched up MLK. And I got so many complaints because it was just so patchy. Okay, and so I checked into it, found out that they patched it. They wanted to let that patch sit for a year, then they were going to come back and resurface the entire road. And then of course the pandemic came, and then Hurricane Ida came, and I understand why it got delayed. But are they still planning on coming back to resurface this? Because I mean, that's the road that everybody travels on in this parish, and everybody who's coming from outside the parish travels on. So is that something you can check on in the June meeting?
Yes, sir. They told me they were working on the state highways around the Puenish area. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And once they finish, their next project is going to be LA 24.
Okay, but this was supposed to be done. I mean, this project supposedly already began, and so.
Yeah, that's all they told me, Mr. Michel.
Okay.
They didn't tell me anything about MLK.
If you'd ask him in June, I'm
but
sure.
I got a note, and I will check on it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Michel. Mr. Babin?
Yeah, Mike, thank you very much for the update. You know, John and Dirk and I have been sitting, on the MPO for back almost 12 years now, okay? And Lyle LeBlanc in the past, and who just got off, Gary Gisclair, and then now Mark Rogers in that particular position. You know, Chris comes to the meeting, he can tell you how much we're asking him, because Chris Morvaunt comes to the meetings, and nice man, I'm glad he's retired, okay? Maybe Mr. Scott Balls will do a much better job, but we constantly asking him about it. We have a meeting on the 27th, and I'm just throwing this out there to you, Mike. Might be a good idea, since you just had a face-to-face with him. Hopefully he'll be there, because Chris Morvaunt used to always come to the meetings. Not that he participated very much, but he would come to the meetings. Maybe it'll show that we really after it, that if you there again. Wouldn't hurt if David and Clay would be there, because, I mean, anybody can speak. But constantly we remind them about it. And I know, and I'll tell my fellow council people, if you can't make it, make me out a list of the bumps and holes on your state roads in your district. Bring it to me, and I guarantee you I'll give him one for every district that we have here. Look, I know that's not going to, the next day they're not jumping on it, but at least we showing now, after your initial meeting here, that we mean, you know, in this business with the tunnel, that's unconscionable, that they're going to leave something like that we just fortunate that an accident of some magnitude did not happen. But we constantly asking them about it. I mean, and I've talked to the state reps as well, too, and their hands are tied because we just, we kind of like the redheaded stepchild down here from the New Orleans district. It's all about money, and we just, we don't produce it. But again, I applaud y'all for moving it forward. But I think it's April 27th is our next MPO. It's a Thursday, and it's usually at South Central Planning. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Mr. Darren Guidry.
Yeah, and I know, Mr. Babin, you said Mark Rogers, but I think you meant Chris Rogers.
I meant to say.
Yeah, yeah, and but Chris is of course at the office in gray, and a lot of people see the office in gray and they think that is a DOTD district office, and it's not. It is a sub-district office. We are lumped in. We're the only metropolitan area that's lumped in with another metropolitan area. New Orleans, we're part of the New Orleans district. And I don't think this ultimate problem is not going to be solved. We're not going to get the service that we need until we have our own DOTD district. And, I've been saying it to everybody who will listen. And I think that's the ultimate solution. I think we got some great people in Gray, and I'm not going to speak for them, but I would be frustrated if I were in their position and, having to deal with this redheaded stepchild, as Mr. Babin put it. That's what we are. And so we need to solve the bigger problem, which is we need to create our own district then we can go after the little things. But in the meantime, some of the major things as far as grass cutting, Mr. Toops, if you could mention, and I know now we've taken over Tunnel Boulevard, parts of Prospect and the Schriever Overpass, but the exits off of 4-lane Highway 90 onto 311 Main and Park, Bayou Blue Road, that's the main entrances to Terrebonne Parish. If we could somehow make a deal with DOTD, if they can't do it, if we don't have our own sub-district, if we could somehow do it to where the parish can take over the main entrances to our area, the cutting, and get reimbursed somehow from the state and add that to our program, I think that would be a big plus, because if we're trying to attract business and industry here, they exit off the interstate and it's 4 feet high grass, that gives a bad first impression. So maybe talk to them about that and see if we could maybe carve that piece out of their 4-lane Highway 90 project so we could at least take control over making sure that's cut.
Well, on that issue, I'll have to talk to Clay and Ms. Candace first, because the areas that we are cutting now on behalf of the state, we're cutting at a loss.
Well, no doubt. And we have to get compensated somehow.
We get
So that's the big
compensated,
rub.
but only a portion of what we pay out
Right.
to get it cut. So if we add, we'll add to Clay's deficit. And I'm not saying it's not possible, but yeah, I think it should be done. Can we see if we got extra money, Ms. Candace?
Well, the biggest, I don't want to get into the details of that, but the biggest rub is, of course, DOTD pays per mile. And so I was told by DOTD that they'll have to go to some other formula. So if you could work on that, but that is one area that a lot of people coming into Terrebonne Parish comment about, and I think it would help us economically if they could see something a little better when they enter Terrebonne Parish.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mike.
Mr. Trosclair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just going to talk a little bit of what Darren just finished talking about. I'm not in favor of us taking over any of the state work. I mean, the state, like you already stated on this last deal with the tunnel and stuff, I wasn't in favor of that. I voted for it, but I didn't like it because it's costing us money. Clay, I talk to Clay almost daily and about different things, and Clay's department is stretched thin as it is. We have parish grass that needs to be cut quicker than what it's taken. It's taken roughly a little over a month with his 2 crews to cover the whole parish and make one sweep of the parish. And in the summertime, when the grass is growing, the month from the time you get cut to the time you get cut again, that takes that grass grows a lot. So I'd rather see us use our resources to keep parish grass cut down, if we can do it every 3 weeks instead of a month, rather than cutting state roads and stuff. That it needs to be done, but we need to push our, DOTD. But either way, you mentioned that I had met with Mr. Boyles and Tanner McGee. I did. And one thing that struck me odd, we are, as Darren stated, part of District 2, which encompasses Orleans and Terrebonne. But Boyles stated at that meeting that the state had one road grinder that wasn't even stationed in District 2. It comes from Hammond, and it takes care of the Hammond District, New Orleans District, which encompasses us. So all these speed bumps we get in the road, there's no way possible we can get that machine over. I did, and one of my things was at that point I said, well, Tanner asked Mr. Boyles what his budget was for the year. And I think his budget, I can't remember exactly what he said, $1 million, a little over $1 million for his operating budget, for capital purchases, equipment. Capital projects. No, by projects, but equipment. And so I asked him, well, how much does one of these road grinders cost? He said about $500,000. So half of his budget would go to one piece of equipment. So naturally, I looked at Tanner and said, looks like you got some work to do because we need some money. But that's the problem, you know. I'm not taking up for the state. I mean, they're doing a terrible job, I think. But, you know, our delegation, our state delegation needs to make sure that there's funding in place for these people. I mean, if they don't have equipment, they can't do the job short of contracting it out. I mean, and that's what they're having to do. Okay, so, and their budgets don't budget contracting every little job that comes up. So it's, you know, they basically pick their poison, and the real major jobs, that's what gets their attention because they got to contract it out. They don't have the resources in-house to do it. So, you know, the state has a lot more problems, I think, than Parish does as far as equipment and getting things done. But I was impressed with, you know, with Mr. Balls, and, you know, he did seem sincere that he was going to make a, you know, concerted effort to help us resolve our issues. You know, he wouldn't commit to nothing, but he, you know, I felt comfortable leaving the meeting that we would have open dialogue, and I hope it stays that way. But like you said, I haven't heard anything from my request yet either, and that I had that meeting before y'all had y'all meeting, you know, probably a month or so ago. So hopefully it works out, but that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trosclair. Mr. Dirk Guidry.
Yeah, Mike, I applaud y'all for trying to do what y'all can do with DOTD. Myself, John Amadi, and Mr. Babin, and Darren now, since he just got on the board, but we've been sitting on the MPO committee. I've been sitting on it for 11 years now. And all these things that you have on this paper, us 3 people have complained about it. And it just seems to fall on deaf ears like this. And by the way, on that item that you brought up of resurfacing from LA 24, Clendenning Road, they started it today.
Oh, good.
So thank God, because that was an accident waiting to happen. I even showed DOTD pictures of that hole where a pickup truck pulling a trailer, when the trailer hit the hole, the tire flew off the trailer, and they had a car parked at the red light, and the tire went and hit the car in the rear. And if it would have gone in the other lane, it would have been a green light. It would have been a tire hitting the car head on at 50 miles an hour. And I've been telling them this for months, and it keeps on falling on deaf ears, no matter, and the bumps on the highways and the tall grass. You preaching to the choir between us 3 every time we have a meeting, and Chris will verify that. We bring this up time and time again, and it just seems to fall on deaf ears. After showing them a video of a tire flying off of a trailer and hitting a parked car, you'd think there would be some kind of emergency to get this fixed, but it's been months, you know. I'm just, like I said, I really appreciate what y'all doing. Gerald, on Martin Luther King Boulevard, they've been studying Martin Luther King Boulevard for 3 years to see how they're going to fix it. And every time, Chris Pulaski is the one that answered that question, what are they going to do with it? And it just seems they just push it on and on and on, and nothing seems to get done with DOTD. Tall grass, we complain about tall grass on the side of the roads. It's not just by the overpasses, it's all over. They're supposed to cut the grass on the side of the road 3 to 4 times a year, and we're lucky if we get it cut 1 time a year, you know. I just don't know if somebody needs to drive to the governor's house and shake him up a little bit or whatever, but it's a disgrace when people's going to come down these bayous and these cities and see what kind of shape this parish is in. It's a disgrace to look at. When you drive into the city of Thibodeau, it's all great green grass and it's beautiful, you know. Steve, I know you might have not wanted to get the grass cuts on these medians on Tunnel, but for us, it has to be done. I mean, if we want people to come into Terrebonne Parish, we want at least to look good. Because you come into Terrebonne Parish, this is a crappy-looking parish. You know, there's junk all over, there's tall grass all over, and we need to get this, and we need to do something and fight about it. But DOTD has been doing an awful bad job since, like I said, it's 11 years I'm on the MPO committee, and I don't know why we bring up these gripes to them, because it never gets done. Hopefully, because y'all had this meeting, Mike, that they fix this hole at DOT by Clendenning Road before somebody got killed. And with the grinding machine, Whether the parish has to buy one or not, these roads are in horrible condition. That's one of the major problems with the city and the parish being filthy like it is. These roads are horrible. Not only state roads, but parish roads are horrible. We're not going to just give it and put the ball all on the state. It's the parish too. We need to do our job. So, I mean, I could go on and on about this, but DOTD, I have no confidence in him. And I hope the new guy, Sean Wilson, I heard resign, you know what I mean? I hope the new guy, this Boyles fella, will step up to the plate and do something, because this place is horrible. We need to have something done. I've always got complaints about the roads and the bridges, but it seems like in the last 2 or 3 months, it's just multiplied and multiplied. I got a one-lane bridge at Robinson Canal that they found that the pollens are falling apart. I got pictures of chunks of cement falling out of the pollens. They came and they looked at it, they condemned the whole bridge. People had to go past all the way around Grand Kai from Lil Kai if you stayed down the bayou. So we complained to them. So it was at one time, it was such a bad shape they had to shut the road down. We complained about, now they opened one lane. It's going probably on 3 years that they're supposed to be replacing this bridge. And there's a one-lane bridge. There's one lane on this bridge waiting to collapse in the canal. Boudreaux Canal Bridge is 4 or 5 years they're supposed to be replacing the bridge, because if you pass under it, all the steel, all the metal is rusted and falling off under the bridge. You know, it's sad, the shape that all of our bridges and roads are in Terrebonne Parish. So, I mean, I could go on and on and on about this, but thank you, Mike, for whatever y'all can do to shake the cage or whatever, because, like I said, me, John Amity, and Mr. Babin, we've been shaking the cage for years, and it seems to just be falling on deaf ears. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Guidry. Mr. Alvin Tillman? Oh, I'm sorry. Can you press it again?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I give my little thoughts on this, I just want to recognize newly elect Councilman Brian Pleasure for District 1 is in the audience. You know, ladies and gentlemen, we've been dealing with this thing a long time. I remember in 2000, 2001, especially in 2000 as a freshman councilman at that time, going out into the community and writing up complaints. And I would always write up complaints on the parish. I would always write up complaints on the state. By no means should we give the state a bye. But I've always said that if you don't put pressure on people, they're not going to do anything. Why? I mean, listen, if the table is already set, why should I do anything? Okay? We have to find an aggressive way to deal with the state so that our parish can be beautiful again. I hope that we can get with our delegation and have a meeting with the delegation and let them know that we really need the help in beautifying our parish. We really, really do. And we've been dealing with the state for years. I mean, I listen to these guys talking about the MPO. We were dealing with it way back then. In our master plan for the parish, I think that we need to include that Houma tunnel in it in terms of addressing it. Not funding it, but addressing it, and create some type of network between this parish and the state as it relates to that tunnel. Because believe me, when that tunnel is out, just imagine the tunnel is out and then the Dulars Bridge is out. We're buckled in. You know, things are shut down in this parish at this point. You know, I remember back around 2000, 2002, there was a plan, some discussion with the state in terms of what they're going to do with the Dulars Bridge. Because when you think about it, it was obsolete when they built it. You know, it just doesn't make any sense to build a bridge. You got a tunnel, you got an overpass, and then you got a bridge that you have to wait till the boats pass. You know, so it was obsolete when it was built. But if we don't do something with that tunnel, somebody's really, really going to get hurt. Because when you go in there, water's everywhere in that tunnel. Okay? And just imagine, we're underwater. Water is everywhere. Sooner or later, something is going to give. We have to do something about it. So it has to be somewhere along the line, it has to be included in our master plan in terms of what we're going to do. And I'm quite sure the state as well have a master plan. We need to find out what are their plans for it. But I think that we definitely need to give it the delegation. We need their help. We really do. over on right between off of Main Street, between West Street and East Street. There's a large dip right in front of this huge trailer park, a large dip. And I think it was in 2000 when the young man was hit there. And I know it was from that dip because the lady lost control of that car and that young man got killed. State done nothing. Nothing. We really have to do something as it relates to the state and doing their job. I have to agree with Steve. I disagree with taking on a responsibility of the state because we have a budget as well. Whatever we do for the state, we have to take it away from our budget. Whatever we take away from our budget, that means that there's nothing we can do until the next budget year. But if this thing moving on and on and on, so that means that's going to go from budget year to budget year and nothing get done. Nothing get done. And I have to agree, when you enter into Thibodeau, it's beautiful. It is beautiful. It is beautiful. So I don't know whether or not the delegation is helping with that or not. I don't know. But we definitely need to do something in terms of getting our situation straight. So thank you for the report. I certainly appreciate that. But certainly get with the delegation and see if they can give us some help because we really need it. And we've been taking care of the state property way before I got here. You know, so, but like I said, when you start to doing things and no one say anything about it, it becomes second nature. So the state look at it and say, look, Terrebonne never complained about it. Let's keep it moving. But now it's time for us to do something about it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Mr. Amity? Turn it back on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All right, I was taking notes, so I'm going to try and address a few of these things. First of all, Thibodeau pays to cut their grass themselves, even though it's a state highway. Terrebonne Parish used to do that, but in a previous administration, when they were having to do some budget cuts to be able to do their own thing, they cut it out. You might have been on there at the time, Mr. Tillman. I forget, it was about that time. About MLK, they've been waiting on this study. They're looking at redesigning it to try and make it safer, so it's not a free-for-all out there. Something similar to what's in Thibodeau on North Canal. But I don't know if they ever got the report. They never had it since the last.
Due July 31st, 2022.
So it was due July 31st, 2022. And at the last meeting, they still hadn't gotten it. Once that happens, then they still have to go out for engineering. Once they've got all design done, then they have to go out for the actual work. So that's going to be a while.
2 years.
That's going to be a while. I'm not sure that DOTD gets general fund dollars, so I don't know that Tanner can find some money to help him. He may be able to. I think they operate off the fuel taxes. But I do know they got a 13, may even be a 14 by now $billion deficit. Their project list is, on their project list. We looked into creating a separate district. We would get less money than we get now being a part of the New Orleans district. But at least we would have control of it, better control of it, because it would be within our area. And for the delegation, they're all out there fighting, but I think they need to unify. So I think that's what we need to ask the delegation to do, is unify their efforts, because they're all out fighting for their different districts. But I think if we can pull it together, maybe they might make some headway, because they can create a louder voice. And there was one other thing I didn't write down, but I guess I've forgotten it now. It's fun to be over 50, huh, guys? You learn something new every day, and you forget 5 other things. But thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Amity. Mr. Darren Guidry.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you please press it again? I don't know why it's doing that.
Okay. And yeah, I've heard the people say if we get our own district, we're going to get less money. But I agree with Mr. Amity. We will have control, but we'll also be able to get our delegation. It'll be easier to get them to bring stuff to our local district if we have our own district. I think we'll have a better argument to get capital dollars. And as far as Thibodeau, you know, I hear this all the time. Lafourche is so much better than Terrebonne because people drive north, and when they get to the Lafourche Parish line, Thibodeau is all nice, clean, and cut. And Mr. Domedy is right. Thibodeau cuts their own grass. In fact, we modeled our contract that we did with the state to cut Tunnel Boulevard last year off of Thibodeau's contract that they do at the state. So they took the matter in their own hands because they know DOTD couldn't do it. And so that's why. But if you go outside of Thibodeau on 308 or 1 towards New Orleans, once you get outside the city limits, Lafourche, if you've driven to New Orleans, the grass on the highway, it's just as high, if not worse, than Terrebonne Parish. So we're all in the same boat. And unless we have to identify what areas are, the most important, and if we can at least take the pieces that we have to do to keep Terrebonne Parish a good place to live, right? And a good place for people to do business and do work, because we got to build our economy. And, if we can do that and we can get a reasonable reimbursement from the state, I think we need to consider that. Thibodeau obviously felt it was important to have their city clean, and I think we need to make sure that Terrebonne Parish is clean as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guidry. Mr. Gerald Michel. Sorry, can you press it again?
Okay, thank you. I just want to clarify something. The Martin Luther King thing, trying to make it safer, putting the petitions to make the permanent turning lanes is great, but I got a feeling the state's ranking that right up there with finishing I-49, okay? But what I was talking about specifically is finishing the resurfacing that they started. They started it in 2019. I just want them to resurface what we have now. The other stuff hopefully will come one day, but that's not what I was talking about. I'm just talking about finishing what we started. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Toops, any other comments on this?
No, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Toops.
Thank you, Mr. Toops. I really appreciate this conversation. I feel like we're all heading in the right direction. Not sure what that direction that is, but we're definitely heading somewhere. Can we get a motion in a second? Okay, all right. So we're going into 6:30 public hearing, and I do want to apologize, Mr. Pledger. I was going to introduce you, but welcome, Mr. Pledger. He is our newly elected District 1 councilman. So 6:30 public hearing, item A, an ordinance to amend the 2023 adopted operating budget, 5-year capital outlay budget, and budgeted positions for the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items, and to provide for related matters. Hazard mitigation plan, $86,921. Animal shelter, $63,991. City marshal, $1,138. Facility planning and control of Valhalla Extension, Savannah to LA 311, $2,600,000. Department of Transportation and Development, Civic Center Valhalla Roundabout, $150,000. Facility Planning and Control, South Louisiana Wetlands Discovery Center, $250,000. South Louisiana Wetland Discovery Center donation, $1,567. Information Technology, $58,466. Add 1 full-time content strategist, grade 208. Public once, public twice, third time public. Motion to close by Mr. Dirk Guidry.
Second.
Second by Mr. John Amity. All in favor. Members, vote your machines. Public is closed.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Dirk Guidry. We have one light, and we have a second by Mr. Gerald Michel. But we have one light, Mr. Daniel Babin.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, can you please press it again? It's being weird.
Candace, the $2.6 million for the Valhalla Control Extension, that's state money, correct? Yes, sir. Just wanted to make that clear. That's not $2.6 million coming out of Terrebonne Parish Consolidated's budget. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Can the members please vote your machines? We have 8 yeas. Motion passes. Item B, an ordinance to dedicate and accept the maintenance operation of the street drainage servitude, sewer, and right-of-ways of the New Isle subdivision, Phase 1, energize and accept the street lights, and to incorporate Jean Charles Boulevard, Dardar Street, Pelican Street, and New Start Road into the enhanced 911 emergency response system for the purpose of providing a better means of locating addresses. Public once, public twice, third time public.
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Mr. John Amity.
Second.
Second by Mr. Daniel Babin. Vote your machines, please. Eight yeas.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Mr. John Amity and a second by Mr. Darren Guidry. Members, vote your machines. Eight yeas, motion passes. Item C, an ordinance authorizing the parish president to accept and execute on behalf of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government as grantee a drainage servitude agreement to install a culvert crossing Bayou Terrebonne over TPCG's existing Louisiana Revised Statute 38:113 servitude. Public once, public twice, third time public. Motion to close by Mr. Gerald Michel.
Second.
Second by Mr. John Amity. Members, vote your machines. Eight yeas, public is closed.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Gerald Michel.
Second.
Second by Mr. Darren Guidry. Members, vote your machines. Eight yeas, motion passes. Item D, an ordinance to authorize the parish president to execute a lease agreement for the Montague Boat Launch, which will replace and extend the current lease of the Montague Boat Launch to provide for a public recreational boat launch in Montague. Public once, public twice, third time public.
Second.
Motion to close by Mr. Steve Trosclair and second by Mr. Darren Guidry. Members, vote your machines. Eight yeas, public is closed. Motion to adopt by Mr. Steve Trosclair, second by Mr. Dirk Guidry. Members, vote your machines. Eight yeas, motion passes. Item E, an ordinance to authorize the acquisition of property sites and/or servitudes required for the Country Estates Bridge Replacement Project, LADOTD project number H013199. Authorize the parish president to execute any and all documents necessary to acquire sites, property, and/or servitude for said purposes. Public once, public twice, third time public.
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Mr. John Amity, a second by Mr. Gerald Michel. Members, vote your machines. Eight yeas, public is closed.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Mr. John Amity and a second by Mr. Gerald Michel. Members, vote your machines. We have eight yeas, motion passes.
Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion for an add-on, to add on public wishing to address the council, because it's not on here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was hoping you would do that, Mr. Michel. We have a motion to add on public comment by Mr. Gerald Michel and Mr. Daniel Babin. You have a comment?
No, I was making the motion.
Okay, all right. And we have a second by Mr. Daniel Babin. Can we please vote our machines?
You have to do a public request too.
I'm sorry. Public once, public twice, third time public. Does anybody oppose? No. All right. Motion to close public by Mr. Gerald Michel.
Second.
Second by Mr. Daniel Babin. Now we get a motion.
We have to vote on that.
Yes.
We have to probably
Can we-
turn it off, though, yeah.
Yes. Can we please vote?
Now we vote on the add-on.
Voting on the add-on. All right. We have eight yeas. Public comment has been added to the agenda. Thank you so much, guys.
I think you have one, don't you?
I have two.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Our first public comment, Ms. Diane Collins.
Good afternoon. Hi, I'm Diana Collins from 1123 Dewey. Houma, Louisiana. I come here tonight to bring my youth council. One of my youth, Terrebonne Parish Youth Council, stand in the back, please. I brought them here tonight so they can see what's going on in our council, in our parish. One day they might want to run for parish government or run for some office, and I want them to see what's going on. So I want to let my kids know, you see, the future is for you guys now. So y'all got to get some of this stuff straight that they talked about tonight. And I want to thank y'all too for supporting my youth department, our youth department, NAACP, and we was glad to be here tonight. So I just want them to we building them up, we starting them young so they can know about politics and what they have to do if they want to play a part in this thing you call world. So y'all get prepared. Because these people got work to do. Some of the work they're trying to do is not done, so y'all gonna have to finish it for them, okay? Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you, Miss Diane. We do have a few lights.
Okay.
Mr. Gerald Michel? Sorry, Gerald.
I just have one comment. Go ULM.
Oh.
Mr. Dirk Guidry, you're going to have to hit it again.
Ms. Diana, I applaud you what you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
As you can see, when we're talking about some of the DOTD projects, how many years it takes, you guys may be here by the time we get through. But it's glad to see that our youth are being involved in things. We need to do more of it, and at least where they can come and see what's happening in our government.
Yes.
And if you got a problem, call a councilman. You don't have to be of age. Just if you see a problem in your community that you think needs being fixed, call one of your council members.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if you're 16, 15 years old. We serve you guys. You guys, your mamas and dads and your aunts and uncles elected us, and they hired us to help you guys out. So, look, walk the right line. And Ms. Diane, that's exactly what these young people need today, is supervision and somebody that they can look up to you. And most of all, they probably look up to you for doing your part in the community. And really, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. What you do for these youngsters is the future of our government and our country. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Guidry. Mr. John Amity.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Collins, again, like they were saying, thank you for all that you're doing, especially with the youth.
Thank you.
If y'all really want to see crazy, go up to the state capitol. This is kind of calm and tame compared to what takes place up there. And that might be a good field trip for them one day. And if you contact one of the delegation, they'll treat you around and do some things for you. Another suggestion, too, is maybe at one of your meetings, invite one of the state delegation people to go by and just express some of the things that they do, and they can learn what happens at the state level.
Thank you.
I know I'm married to one, and I know she goes to a lot of the schools doing that, and I'm sure they'd be very happy to attend one of your meetings as well.
Appreciate
it. But guys, good luck with your endeavors, and hopefully one day we'll see some of you guys sitting right here. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Alvin Tillman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sister Collins.
Yes.
Bless you. You've been doing this for a long time and doing an impeccable job just impacting the lives of these young folks. I just like to say to you young people, keep reaching for the stars. Mm-hmm. Keep reaching for it. And certainly what they used to tell me, that if you can believe it, you can do it. I was in the youth chapter. So, it was before Sister Collins, but I was in the youth chapter. That's where I started. From the youth chapter, then going into the mother chapter. So, Diane, you're doing a great job. I see a lot of the participants from the organizations are going to higher heights. I see the great things that they're doing. I noticed one of the young people was speaking at the program, doing an impeccable job. Watching Wendell. And I remember one time it was Charles Jr., and he was over at Dumas, and he was playing the saxophone. And the young man was playing the saxophone. It was awful. Yeah. And he was playing that saxophone. And but it was awful. But listen, he didn't give up. Uh-huh. He didn't give up. And then later on in the years, man, he played that thing.
Yeah.
And he started off in the youth chapter, and now he's an attorney. Have a big firm working out in Washington, D.C. So the youth chapter have really impacted the lives of these young people. So you keep what you're doing.
Thank you.
Young people, keep believing and keep believing in yourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Mr. Babin?
Yes, Ms. Collins, like everyone else, thank you very much. And thank the children for wanting to participate in it, okay? You know, my degree is history and government, so I love all of this.
Yes.
You all out there, you're going to hear a term, the wheels of bureaucracy turn very slow. What we do tonight may not take effect in some things for the next 3 to 4 years because projects take that long and government has to jump through so many hoops to do it because they do it because we have to protect our taxpayer dollars. But we don't teach civics enough in school anymore. I mean, when we all grew up, well, a majority of us up here, you had civics in school and you learned about all this. Now you have to do it through organizations and groups like yours. And I really appreciate what you do.
Thank you, sir.
But again, to get the participation from the children, that's so important.
Yeah.
You can have a great idea. If you're preaching to the choir or there's nobody to preach to, then it's very difficult. So again, I applaud on both ends that you're doing it and they want to receive the knowledge. But I think John said it best. I think it was John that said it. If y'all ever have a question, I mean, our numbers are public numbers. Please call any one of us. We'd be more than glad. Or if you need one of us or a number of us to go speak at a meeting.
Yes.
But that's what we do.
Thank you.
We'd be glad to do it.
I'll
So
do that.
applaud you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. And thank you so much, Miss Diane, and thank you kids for coming out today. And if you ever want to use our council chambers to maybe do a mock meeting and really kind of,
I went to one today.
yeah, they're pretty fun. Just call me and we can set that up because I think that's really important. I did one with my own children, and I think they voted whether they wanted pepperoni pizza or cheese pizza, and it was pretty fun. But yes, if you ever want to do anything like that with the kids, definitely let us know because we are going to support you guys in any way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also want to thank my parents, too. I have some parents here tonight that came out with the kids. I appreciate y'all for allowing me to have that opportunity with these kids. Thank you. And I also want to congratulate Mr. Brian Fletcher. Thank y'all again. I love y'all for y'all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We have another speaker card tonight. Mr. Anthony Rainey would like to speak about pickleball.
Anthony Rainey, 3593 A Highway 316, Gray, Louisiana. Let me get something clear. I'm not against pickleball. Okay, we had a meeting about a year ago with Mr. Rodley Real, which is the recreation director, and he's telling our AAU teams that he don't want his gym supervisors to sit and supervise them because they are a private organization. They're a private organization, but they're non-profit. But here you is with pickleball, which is not a sanctioned sport through TPR. And in Dularge, they go on Thursday nights from 5 to 7. His gym supervisor are supervising them. On Sundays, they go from 12 to 5 at the East Houma gym. His gym supervisors are supervising them. Okay, we looking to be equal. We looking for some transparency. And that's why I keep coming to this council. And I thank you, Mr. Tillman, for what you said earlier. If we don't put no pressure on some people, things just gonna go the way they are. And we looking for him to be equal to our organizations. He want his gym supervisors to get off the clock, and they want these non-profit organizations to pay his gym supervisors when we have a millage for that gym to be open certain many hours. Now, we can take $2 million and send all over the parish, but we can't pay a gym supervisor. And we only running from April to maybe July. And during this time, we're not interfering with no sports in TPR. Biddy should have just finished all these sports. Only thing you have running now is maybe another week or two of pre-prep. These guys are practicing outside in inclement weather when the gyms could be utilized with them. All we want to do is some fairness. Give them the same opportunity to use these facilities like he giving those other people without them paying. And we got insurance. All these organizations got every gym listed in Terrebonne Parish and the high schools. We're not looking for nothing different. We just want to be fair. And that's why I keep coming to this council. So we can get this, if we keep pushing it back, we're going to be into another year. And then our guys are still going to be outside practicing outside. We got a lot of guys that use these gymnasiums, these recreation to get free educations. We got a lot of kids that went through AAU basketball using these gyms out of this parish. Look at your biddy teams. How many national championships we have right now? Do y'all know? How many we got, guys? Two.
And one runner-up. 11 and 12-year-olds runner-up.
And 12-year-olds are the runner-up. For utilizing these.
Mr. We have a motion to extend by Mr. Darren Guidry and a second by Mr. Dirk Guidry. Members, vote your machines. We have 8 yeas. Your time has been extended. Give me 1 minute. We have to get back to you.
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, I understand. So we looking to see, can we get in these facilities? If you keep pushing us back, our season's going to be over with. And he could direct his gym supervisors to give us some time like he giving these other organizations. And we're not interfering with no TPR sports. None at all. That's why I keep coming here asking for y'all help. If I can't get no help from y'all, what is my conclusion? To say that y'all agree with what he's doing? Would that be want me to draw that conclusion? No, I don't want to draw that conclusion on my own. I need some help. We need some help. Our kids in Terrebonne Parish need some help.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rainey. We do have a few lights. Mr. John Amity?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I believe our assistant clerk had told you, we do have you on the agenda. I know we had you on from Monday. You had your regular rec district meeting. So I got it rescheduled again for the next committee meeting. So that way we can have everybody here to discuss this out. Public comment, we can't actually discuss it, but we will get it discussed with you.
But in the meantime, we use these facilities. Is any way we could use these facilities without these guys paying? We're not interfering with no sport that is going on in TPR right now until we come up with an agreement. Until we get it equal.
Okay.
Well, like I said, we'll have to discuss it when we meet then.
So it sounds like we're going to have it on the agenda in 2 weeks on Monday. Mr. Alvin Tillman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really don't know much about pickleball. What is pickleball?
I guess it's like a table tennis. I don't know what it is either. I'm not against it. I'm glad they're using it.
It's a fast game of tennis.
Yeah, like a tennis.
I mean, I don't know what it is. I guess for this, I don't have too much to say. We got our new council member coming in, and I'm quite sure he's listening in on that, Anthony. But what were you guys doing prior to pickleball coming in? Because listening to what you're saying, are you guys being booted out of a time to play, or there aren't any time for you guys to play because of this pickleball? What is it going on? Tell us what's going on.
Mr. Tillman, it's not on the agenda, so we can't discuss it tonight.
Well, hold on a minute. I mean, I just asked him a question now. He had his few minutes, although it's not on the agenda, and I've said before, once you start bringing this stuff up, that's open game. You open up to speak on it. You know, so what we should start doing, if as a councilman you're not going to be allowed to speak on it, you shouldn't bring this stuff up. And I mean, I got our attorney right there. He know if he's going to court and he got something that he bring up, if you bring it up, it's fair game. The other side can speak on it. But what I'm saying is that
Mr. Hebert, you have a comment about this?
Alvin, with all due respect to you, I've advised that we should not have to, these matters should be placed on the agenda. And he was told last time it would be put on the agenda. Number two is it cannot be discussed. I think what the council did is they wanted to give a chance in case somebody just wanted to bring something to the council's attention, they would let them do it without having a question and answer session. Of course, the downside of that is the questions he's answering, we don't have the people here to answer the question, the one that really needs it. So this conversation would be better deferred when it's going to be on the agenda, and I presume that the appropriate people will be here to have that discussion, which I guess is our recreation department.
Okay, looking forward to it.
That's my advice: is do not please.
I certainly appreciate that, but it's a little different. I guess I'm from a different era. I was here. Somebody would come up and we'd always be able to speak on it. But I'm going to adhere to the attorney at this point, and hopefully in the near future, you guys can come together and discuss this and get some resolution to it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Babin, you have something?
Mr. Rainey,
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to let you know that, it is going to be on the next agenda. The next committee meetings are April the 10th, okay? So that's when it'll be on there, and I'm sure who's ever going to put it on there is going to ask the appropriate people, as Mr. Hebert said, meaning the Recreation Department, to be here to be able to answer questions.
But you say committee meeting is going to committee first, or you mean?
It has to go to committee first.
Okay. So we have to attend the committee meeting first?
Correct. For you to be on the agenda, it comes up at a committee meeting, all right? So that's going to be April the 10th.
Okay,
all right?
No problem.
I just want to make sure we got all the dates straight, and to know at that point, then we can have discussion. At this point, we can't. All right?
Thank you so much.
sir.
Committee reports. Item A, Public Services Committee, Mr. Darren Guidry. Darren, can you please hit your light again? Darren, can you please hit it again?
Madam Chair, I make the motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Public Service Committee held on March 27th, 2023, and I have no public hearings.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Darren Guidry and a second by Mr. Steve Trosclair. Members, vote your machines. Mr. Tillman? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So we have 7 yeas. Motion passes. Item B, Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. Dirk Guidry.
I'll make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Budget and Finance Committee held on March 27, 2023, and I have 4 public hearings. Number 1, an ordinance to declare a surplus a tax property located at 198 A Square Wolf Lane, adjudicated to the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government to acquire authorization to dispose of said property in accordance with LARS 47:2196, and call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, April 12, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. The second one is an ordinance to amend the 2023 adopted operating budget and 5-year capital outlay budget of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and to provide for related matters. Head Start, $120,000. Animal Shelter, $1,000. Houma Police Department, $919. Office of Emergency Preparedness, $3,200. Gibson and Gray Elderly Program, $175,000, and call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, April 12, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. The third one is an ordinance appointing Ms. Alicia Smith as Terrebonne Parish Council Minute Clerk, setting an effective date and setting salary, and calling a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, April 12, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. And fourth and finally, an ordinance accepting Ms. Charlie Howard as Terrebonne Parish Council Senior Minute Clerk, setting an effective date and setting his salary, and calling a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, April 12, 2023 at 6:30 p.m.
We have a motion by Mr. Dirk Guidry and a second by Mr. John Amity. Members, vote your machines. We have 7 yeas. Motion passes. Item 3, streetlights. As per by Mr. Dirk Guidry. Second by Mr. Darren Guidry. Members, vote your machines. I don't think we have to vote on that. No. Okay. All right. Item 4, appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. Item A, Recreation District 5 Board, 1 expired term. Mr. Jared Bourne submits application for consideration. Mr. Brock Verdin expresses his interest in being reappointed.
motion to open, close, and vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a motion to open, close, and vote by Mr. Steve Trosclair and a second by Mr. Gerald Michel. Mr. Hampton?
Mr. Darren Guidry,
We have to vote on motion to vote?
Motion to close nominations.
Oh, motion to close, okay.
You got one person up for one position,
No, we
open,
don't.
close, and appoint.
No, there's two people.
There's two people.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that one.
Yeah.
All right, so motion to close the, are you making a motion to close the appointments? Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah.
I made a motion to vote.
Open, close, and vote, yeah.
Close the
Yeah.
nominations and vote.
Yeah.
That's my motion.
All right, then let's vote to close the nominations.
You don't have to.
Okay. All right.
Open, close, and vote means
That's- yeah, same
exactly
thing.
what it means. Open, close, and vote. You opened it, you made a motion to open it, to let these two people's name up there.
All
You
right.
close it.
So
and
let's do a roll call vote.
Mr. Darren Guidry,
Mr. Verdon?
Mr. Babin,
vote.
Mr. Dirk Guidry,
Mr. Verdun?
Mr. Trosclair, Mr. Tillman, Mr. Harding, Mr. Michel,
Mr. Verdun?
Mr. Amade,
Verdun?
Ms. Domain.
Verdun.
Madam Chair, that's 8 votes in favor of Mr. Verdun to be appointed.
Congratulations, Mr. Verdun. Is he here today? No, okay. Item 5, vacancies to various boards, committees, and commissions. Airport Commission, 1 vacancy due to resignation. Fire Protection District Number 5 Board, 1 expired term. Fire Protection District Number 6 Board, 1 vacancy due to resignation. Fire Protection District Number 8 Board, 2 expired terms. Bayou Blue Fire Protection District Board, 1 expired term. Coteau Fire Protection District Board, 1 expired term. TITA, 2 expired terms. Terrebonne Parish Tree Board, 3 vacancies due to resignation. Announcements. Mr. Toops, does the parish president have any announcements?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Okay. Council members, Mr. Gerald Michel. Gerald, can you please press your button again?
Okay, thank you. And just a reminder to those who are able, please consider giving blood.
Thank you so much. And I do have an announcement. We would like to honor Mr. Tillman, as it is Mr. Tillman's last night tonight. And we got you something special. I'm going to read this proclamation. It was such a selfless act of yours, Mr. Tillman, to come up here and volunteer your time for the last few months in the departure of our colleague, Dr. Navy. So the Parish of Terrebonne Parish, a recognition of service, whereas Councilman Alvin Tillman has served as an honorable member of the Terrebonne Parish Council for the past 6 months representing Council District 1, and whereas Mr. Tillman graciously answered the call to serve the public as an interim councilman and to assist with providing for the needs of his fellow man and his local communities, and whereas Mr. Tillman, through his continued acts of public service and stewardship, has proven himself dedicated to providing for the safety and security of parish residents, and whereas the Parish Council wishes to recognize Mr. Tillman for his many years and his recent months of service to Terrebonne Parish and its citizens. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Terrebonne Parish Council on behalf of the Parish President Gordon E. Dove and the entire Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government that Councilman Alvin Tillman be commended for his steadfast service and enduring dedication to Terrebonne Parish, and be wished good fortune in his future endeavors. And this is signed by all of us on the council, Mr. Tillman, as well as the parish president. And we also have a key of the city to present you. Would you like to come up here in the front?
I get a seat.
Going now.
Yeah, you can get one if you don't get shut down.
Yeah, we didn't clap when he came, now we're clapping his All right.
Sorry.
What can I tell you, Alvin?
Unless you want to sit there.
So we just put
No, I
some
don't wanna sit
sitting, some standing, that way
Yeah,
we
we're
all
gonna
fit
fit
in.
We all fit? You want to go to the microphone
Want
and
to go to the
speak?
microphone and talk?
Come on this side? Yeah. Wait a second, you don't remember. Give your name and address. We can have a discussion.
We surprised you there, Mr. Tillman. Let me turn on your mic.
So surprised me. You almost had me tearing up. Well, I tell you what, it's really been an honor coming back and just sitting in. It's been quite interesting. Really it has. It really been quite interesting. But I'm looking forward to going back home. Really, I am. But I'm looking forward to just watching you guys continue to move and maneuver this parish and just continue to do the things that you're doing to see that this parish move forward. And I know it's quite a job. There's no doubt about it. It's quite a job. But I said to the guys in the back that being on this council, I don't think any institution of higher learning could have ever taught me what I've learned being on this council. I've learned so much about this parish, and we have a lovely, impeccable parish. And I'm just asking these guys and gals here to just continue to preserve it. I was really surprised and taken aback. I've always wanted a key to the city. But it's amazing, you get on the council, you don't get to get a key to the city. But I got one now. I always wanted one of these things. They're nice. And I used to ask them, how do you get a key to the city? I didn't realize that I had to get off the council to get one, but this is very, very nice. I want each and every one of you guys to know one thing, that I really enjoyed serving with you for this time period. I was glad that I was able to come in and make a difference, and I hope that I have made a difference with the short time that I was here. Everybody here is very, very unique in their own way, and I say, guys, you're doing a great job. You really are. You're doing a great job. And Jules, I got to tell you, you rock and roll, man. I got to tell you, you rock and roll. You keep order in this court. I appreciate that. Chris, it's been a pleasure, as always. Camden, I tell you what, just observing you shifting the money around for this parish, you're doing an impeccable job, and I ask that you continue to do that. You're really doing a great job. Because to look at the budget that we have and watch you navigate through that budget, it's been like a work of art. Brother Toops, thank you for keeping us informed and public. Just thank you one more time for allowing me to serve. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, we got a couple of lights. Mr. Michel. Mr. Michel, can you press it one more time, please? Thank you.
Alvin, thank you for being here, man. You're a voice of logic, and it's really appreciated.
Thank you.
But I do have some bad news for you.
What's good, man?
Just recently, they changed the locks to be combination locks. Thank you, Mr. Tillman.
Man, I tell you, you guys are something else. Let me turn these keys in before I leave.
Mr. Babin.
Yeah, I'm going to turn these keys in.
Yeah, Alvin, thank you very much for your wisdom and guidance on here. The short time you were on here, we learned a lot, Alvin. And you and I have talked about that sitting next to each other for these last 3 months. I wish the group was here of children, because what we did as a council back when Alvin was put on here, because of a resignation, we had certain things to do. And one of them was to appoint somebody to be on here. And what we chose to do as a council is to not arbitrarily create an incumbent. Because when we spoke to Alvin about it, he said he'd come on here just for 3 months. Otherwise, the 9 of us or the 8 of us would have been picking somebody who would have been an incumbent for this last election last week. Instead, the people chose somebody to come on here, and that's the way democracy is supposed to work. So, Alvin, you served us well, but you served the people of your district extremely well by allowing them to vote somebody to come in. So, thank you very much, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Mr. Dirk Guidry.
Yeah, Alvin, I sure appreciate you coming to do that. Like Danny said, we didn't want to give somebody an unfair advantage by picking somebody else that was running for the office. But, man, you got a lot of knowledge in your head. Even though you've been going for this many years, I sure appreciate the knowledge. And I've learned a lot from you, Thank you. You're a great man, you know what I mean? And you're a great service to your community. Even though if you're not up here, I know you serve your community well. So thank you for stepping up and doing this for a few months. And congratulations, Mr. Pledger, you got some big shoes to take right here, man. So Alvin, thank you a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Guidry. And Mr. Tillman, I really appreciate you being here as well. We really, this council, we've been serving for 3.5 years together, and we've really formed a good alliance. And for you to come in and for you to just jump in and work with us, I think it says a lot about your character. And I truly appreciate you being here and the time that we spent together. And anytime you need anything, you know how to get in touch with us, Mr. Tillman. So thank you so much. Staff reports. Item A, ratify the parish president's appointment of Ms. Kelly Savan and Mr. Elton F. Duncan III as parish attorneys. Moved by Mr. Dirk Guidry and a second by Mr. John Amity. Members, vote your machines. We have 8 yeas, motion passes. Item B, a resolution requesting funding from the state of Louisiana through its 2023 supplemental surplus bill to commission an alternative truck route study for a portion of LA Highway 24 Main Street in the downtown Houma area and for any recommended improvements reported by this study. Moved by Mr. Daniel Babin. Second by Mr. Darren Guidry. Members, vote your machines. We have 8 yeas, motion passes. Motion adjourned by Mr. John Amity, and second by Mr. Darren Guidry. Members, vote your machines.
There it is. He voted no.
8 yeas, motion passes. Good night, everyone.